entire story is of law, neither a doc is for eminent. So how do you access that? How do you, I mean, it's accessible. You will not take a
Okay. Okay, I will address that query. See, a survey, ultimately, what is the purpose of the survey? It is to make verification of what, not the books of accounts, whether you have done it in a good Carpoon type manner or not, whether you have got a good clerical system. No, that is not the purpose. The purpose is to verify the books of accounts and correlate that with the stocks or the business or the income that you are having. So if this one step is not possible, there are always 2 or 3 stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, which can be taken care of by the search party. So the other surrounding circumstances and facts and material can be taken into account to correlate with what you have said. Now, this does not mean that only because you cannot download this, it will be converted into a search. No, it cannot mean that. But if there is an indication to a reasonable person that there is an attempt to thwart the purpose of the survey, then it can be converted into a search, which means that the residence can also be covered and every other aspect can be taken care of. Yes, please.
During the survey, they've taken diaries and they use 131 to impound those diaries. They've already done it. They've taken away the diaries and they've impounded under 131. Commissioner has given permission to impound it for 186.
Okay. Can I address this question at a later stage? Because I have got one part for that.
But in fact, I will suggest on this topic of survey is such that we have got thousands of questions. But I am sure that out of 1,000, probably Deepak will answer 990 in his talk. So, I request you to hold your questions till the time finishes. By the time we finish, probably we will have all the answers, and whatever 10 or 15 remains, we will be definitely be glad to answer. Please bear with me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Now, with this, I was on the subject of recording of statements. Now, during a search, recording of a statement is mandatory. Mandatory not because it is mentioned in the Act, but because procedurally it is mandatory. You have to pin down the assessee, or looking at it from the other side of the coin, give him an opportunity of explaining whatever he has got with him. Under the provisions of survey, can any statement be recorded? The answer is, a statement can be recorded. This brings me to 2 questions. Who can record the statement? We have seen that a survey can be carried out by any income tax authority who has got the jurisdiction over the place to be surveyed. Now, within that income tax authority, who can record the statement? And the second offshoot is whether that statement can bind me. These are the 2 things that we have to consider. This is a very important issue because many a time the assessment is framed on the basis of a statement which has been recorded. The third offshoot is the statement binding upon me in the sense that can I not explain that statement? Let us see these provisions one by one. Under the provisions of section 133(a)(3), the income tax authority can place marks of identification that we have seen. He can make extracts or copies of the books of account as defined under section 212(a). He can do that. That also we have seen. But the income tax authority shall not impound any books of account. That answers your question. He cannot impound it. So any action, whether taken under section 131 or even just like that, cannot be done during a survey. If you want to impound, if you find that there is prima facie certain material which necessitates the impounding of the books of accounts, that has to be done only by carrying out a search under section 132. In a survey, he cannot impound these books of account. So, provided that the authority shall not impound any books of account after recording his reasons for doing so. Now, when you have said that he has impounded those diaries, did he record or did he not record the reasons? Those reasons have to be recorded at that point of time, not 2 weeks afterwards. So it has to be, just 1 second.
He was recorded afterward and he got an approval.
Okay. Now that approval and all that has to be done. Now that can be certainly be challenged, although I would say from a practical perspective, it is advisable not to take that particular path of legality, because then you will be caught into that whirlpool of legality, and the only persons who will be at an advantage will be people like me who go to the High Court. Yes, please.
No, in practice, what generally happens is that at the time of the survey, they don't impound anything. Subsequently, they summon the party with the books of accounts, and in the course of the recording the statement and 131, the books of accounts are. This is what practically happens.
Okay, the view is, the comment or observation has been that during the survey, no impounding is being done. But later on, at the assessment stage, they call for the books of account, and at that point of time, the books of account are being impounded. Yes, that is.
As a consequence of the survey, they summon to you at their office. There is not, it's not an assessment procedure. It is a consequential action to the survey where the books of accounts are summoned and there the books of accounts are impounded. This is what practically happens.
Okay, now I will tell you what the provisions of the law is, so that you can then decide what step you would like to take or not. Firstly, if that calling the party along with the books of accounts is a continuation of the survey action, then impounding is not possible unless and until the reasons are recorded. And even then, there is a time limit mentioned. Yes, there is a time limit of 15 days. The impounding cannot take place beyond 15 days. However, if this calling of the party is an independent action other than the survey action, then of course the assessing officer is well within his rights to do so. The point to be understood is whether this is a continuation of the survey action or not.
So that is where the whole issue comes, and this is where the weakness of the SSE is being taken advantage of. Because as you rightly pointed out, if you try to antagonize them, that is going to be still difficult and harder. So the SSE cooperates when he is summoned under section 131, takes the books of account, they say it is not in continuation of the survey, but as a consequence of whatever it is, and then they inform.
Right.
This is practically happening every single day.
Well, all I can say is that if it is done in the legal course, then I don't think you can make any objection to it. In any case, you cannot object to an assessing officer's inherent right to examine the books of account.
Sir, under section 133(3), 1A itself now books can be impounded. But as they rightly said, for 15 days they can.
There is a time limit kept of 15 days.
And then approval is to be taken beyond.
And an important thing is that only after recording the reasons.
Yeah.
Now we come back to the subject that we were on, namely whether who can record a statement. One important point to be mentioned is that an income tax inspector does not have the authority of recording a statement. A statement cannot be recorded by an income tax inspector. There have been cases, including a couple which I have argued at the tribunal, where the assessment which has been based upon a statement recorded by an inspector, the additions in an assessment, I won't say that the assessment is bad in law, the additions that have been made in the assessment order based upon the statement which has been recorded by the inspector has been struck down. Because an inspector is not authorized to record a statement. Which then brings me to the next point, that who can record the statement. During the survey proceedings, we have seen who the income tax authorities are. Naturally, the Chief Commissioner, the CBDT are not going to carry out surveys. So, either the assessing officer of whatsoever rank is empowered to record a statement of the assessee. Is the statement to be recorded only of the assessee? The section does not say so. The section says that a statement can be recorded of any person who can throw light upon the purpose of the survey which has been carried out. There was a small point which I would like to mention. I was, under the present designation, a joint commissioner of income tax in earlier what was known as companies range 6. At that point of time, a survey, not a search, a survey was carried out by the investigation wing, and the survey was upon a group of builders at Ghamtobar. They were constructing a colony, and the survey was carried out over there. The information was passed on to my assistant commissioner, to my range, the case was being looked after by the assistant commissioner Sunil Gupta. And the report which came from the investigation wing said that you have to make the addition of X crores in this particular case. Now, Sunil Gupta came to me and said that, sir, I am very perplexed. This was sometime in the month of beginning of March. At that time barring period was March. He said that I am very perplexed about this because I am not satisfied that we can carry out, we can make this addition over here. I said that why do you say so? So he explained the facts of the case. I could clearly see that he was perplexed, and I did not want to put him under that kind of pressure. So I said that make a reference to me under section 144A, and I will give you the necessary directions. He went away very relieved because he was apprehensive that how will I carry out this? It's very easy to make an addition straight away. But then he was a conscientious person and he said that you can't make an addition. I gave him the written directions under 144A that it is not advisable to make this addition. In fact, I told him not to make this addition. And the reason was very peculiar. The investigation wing had clearly goofed up because the statement that was recorded was not that of the builder, it was not that of his accounts department, it was not that of the selling agent of the builder, but the statement that was recorded was of the driver of the selling agent of the builder. And what was the statement recorded? That what is the component of cash and check? And the driver said that I am privy to many conversations, saab log piche baithte hain, and they keep talking. I overhear all that, and I know that this is the proportion. So very simply, the survey team sent by the investigation wing took that as a yardstick, multiplied it by X number of flats, and came to the conclusion that this is undisclosed income and you have to make an addition. Now, the investigation wing took it as a prestige case, and they said that no, you have to make this addition. So I in turn went to my commissioner. Some of you who have been here for more than 20 years would have known one Mr. M.A. Pai. So I went over to Mr. M.A. Pai, who was my CIT, and I said that, sir, this is the situation. I have received a letter from the DDI saying that this addition has to be made, and I have already given written directions under 144A that it cannot be done. He said, what are the facts? I explained the facts to him. And he said that, see, this is done, this letter has been written to you by the DDI, so it will not be proper for me to interfere in that. But you write to the DDI that please let us have the copies of the statements that have been recorded, and on that basis we will go ahead with the addition. There was absolutely pin drop silence from the investigation wing once my letter went. Now the time barring period was approaching, and we were all a little on edge because we didn't want to be accused of not paying heed to what the information has come from the investigation wing. At the same time, Mr. Pai was with me saying that you cannot make an addition under these circumstances. So at that point of time, Mr. SNL Agarwal was the DI. Mr. M.A. Pai wrote to Mr. SNL Agarwal saying that, look, this is, how can you make an addition on this basis? Mr. Agarwal was also a little hard pressed. So Mr. Agarwal called me. He said, just come over. He said that, Deepak, why can't you make this addition? I said, sir, please, under the provisions of the Act, I cannot do this. If you give me instructions in writing, I will be more than happy to make the additions. He said, instructions in writing will not come. And then he told me that frankly this was a flop survey carried out by some stupid, enthusiastic fellows lower down without any reading of the provisions of 133A. I said, sir, if that is the case, then I'm not going to make any addition. And sure enough, we did not make any addition and there was nothing which came out of it. Now the reason why I'm mentioning this is twofold. Whose statement can you record? If the survey party records a statement of a person that is not the main person who is going to be carrying out or in charge of this business, it cannot hold water. And the next important point is that what is the legal validity of a statement recorded under section 133A? Now you have judgments and judgments and judgments that say that a statement recorded under 133A has no legal validity. Why is that? Why do they say that? Again, a distinction has to be made between provisions of search under 132 and the provisions of survey under 133A. Under section 132(4), the search party is authorized to record a statement on oath. To record a statement on oath. There is no such provision of recording of statement on oath under section 133A. And hence, is any statement which has been recorded during the course of the search will have no legal validity at all. It has no evidentiary value because it is not recorded on oath. Does this mean that whatever has been declared in the statement which has been recorded during the course of survey cannot form a base for making the additions? Here again the answer is no. Because if you have made the additions on the basis of an admission given by the searched party and this has been corroborated by other various factors, then the addition will survive. But if this statement recorded is the sole basis for making the addition, then the additions will not stand. A leading decision on this, there are quite a few. A recent one is Dhingra Metalworks 328 ITR, page 384, Delhi. Dhingra Metalworks 328 ITR, page 384, Delhi. Which reads this, I'm just reading a very small extract. For a statement to have evidentiary value, the survey officer should have been authorized to administer an oath. While section 132(4) specifically authorizes an officer to examine a person on oath, section 133A does not permit the same. It is settled law that though an admission was an extremely important piece of evidence, it could not be said to be conclusive, and it was open to the person who had made the admission to show that it was incorrect. Now, that brings me to the question that was posed by one of the participants over there, who said that what happens if there are no books of accounts? Nothing of that sort. So, it is settled law that though an admission was an extremely important piece of evidence, it is a piece of evidence. it could not be said to be conclusive, and it was open to the person who had made the admission to give a clarification as to why that particular admission should not stand. So, a statement recorded under section 133A does not have evidentiary value, although it is an important piece of evidence. Now, when the explanation to the section as put forward by various judgments says that it is open for me to explain this, the question that arises is whether a retraction is permissible. The answer is that yes, a retraction is permissible, indeed it is permissible, but it has to be done within certain parameters. The fundamental principle of any retraction is, I find that Sunil Bhai is going to be dealing with this in greater detail, so I will just make a very sprinkling of a mention of this. One of the fundamental yardsticks and principles of retraction is that it has to be done at the earliest possible opportunity. And if it is not done at the earliest possible opportunity, it should be explained why it was not possible to make that retraction at the earliest possible opportunity. Now, this is an important aspect which the assessing officer has to bear in mind, and it is up to us representatives to make it clear to him that this retraction was made at the earliest possible time. What do you mean by earliest possible time? Gujarat, there is a judgment of the Gujarat High Court which says that where a retraction was made after 2 months, it was still considered to be valid because the circumstances under which the statement was extracted, of course this is with reference to a search, that it was taken at midnight, I was under great pressure, etc., etc. After that I recovered, and hence 2 months' time was taken, was considered to be a valid reason. So 2 months' time was allowed. In the case of Vijay Kumar Kesar, 327 ITR 497. Vijay Kumar Kesar, 327 ITR 497, Chhattisgarh. There was a delay of 3.5 months. That delay was also condoned. However, there is another case which says that again a delay of 3.5 months where the retraction was not permitted, and that was in the case of Gurudev Agro Engineers, wherein 387 ITR 219. Wherein it was the Punjab and Haryana High Court upheld the additions made and which were confirmed by the tribunal. Tribunal's finding was that the assessee had not explained the evidence found against it. Once the assessee was unable to offer any plausible explanation for the sum surrendered during survey, merely relying upon a retraction made on a later date, the assessee was not absolved of his liability. So, Punjab and Haryana High Court have not said that you cannot make a belated retraction. All that they have said is that you have to justify the delay for making this kind of a retraction. So, retraction is possible, but it has to be made as early as you can. One of the last few points that I would like to mention is that something which I consider is practically done, but which is to be abhorred, and that is extracting the admissions. I won't call it confession because confession you make it on oath. Extracting an admission under certain threats. 2 points over here. One is that there is a fairly old circular of the CBDT, old or new depending upon your perspective, of dated 10th March 2003. 10th March 2003. The sum and substance of this, okay, I'll give you the citation also for those who wish to record it. It is F number 286, F number 286 oblique 2 oblique 2003 dash IT into brackets investigation 2 close brackets. I am repeating, F number 286 oblique 2